What's up, everybody? Welcome to Cooper Stuff. It's good to be back. Thanks for watching. Today's title is Keeping It Real. Today on Cooper Stuff, it's going down for real. Today we're going to have some fun, but we're also going to talk about some serious stuff, something that's really important to me. We're going to be talking about social media. We're going to be talking about being fake. We're going to talk about intimacy, and you might be happy to find out that you are not actually all that different than everybody else that you see on social media. But before we do that, you know what it's time for, son?
It's fresh!
As far as I am concerned, one of the awesomest things in this reality we call life is Star Wars. I was even thinking this. Even if we're actually in the Matrix right now, and this isn't actual reality, and in our pods, they're forcing us to watch Star Trek, but in the Matrix, we think we're watching Star Wars, that's also okay. Because Star Wars is far superior to Star Trek. I said it! Oh! Anyway, here we go. Stormtrooper, look at this. Limited edition. This is a helmet that is actually made on the actual specifications of the original Lucasfilm stuff. It is number 668 out of 2,500 made. Check it out.
Nice. All right, cool.
Hey Leia, how you doing? I hope you're not my sister.
It's fresh!
Okay, let's jump in. Keeping it real. Let me start by saying this. I am a Generation Xer. And I don't know if everybody understands the way that they define generations, but there's always like a loose few years when people say it's a Generation X roughly ends at this year. The millennials roughly started a certain year. I'm actually only about 3 years away from when they say the millennial generation started. But my generation did not grow up with the internet. If you can believe it, I used to think the internet was science fiction. In fact, there was a movie with Sandra Bullock called The Net. I don't know if people saw The Net. I thought it was complete science fiction. And when somebody was talking later about the World Wide Web, somebody said, yeah, The Net, you know? And I was like, what is this? And I was like, you mean like the movie? Comes out, this internet thing is here to stay. So for people like me that did not grow up with the internet, there are a lot of really confusing things about it, exactly what social media was. For some old people, it was kind of freaky at first because we didn't understand the whole life. But don't worry, because here on Cooper Stuff, I am not going to be making fun of people for using social media, nor am I making fun of millennials in any kind of a way. I'm even laughing at my own self, my Generation X. Sometimes there's certain things that we don't get that all of you young people do get. I'm going to talk about a little bit of it today. As I first started hearing what social media was, because I'm not really a computer person, I kept asking people like, what exactly is this? I don't understand what this format is and why people do it. And I kept hearing lots of things from, usually from, younger people that were saying, it's so amazing because you can connect with people like all over the world, and you can make friends in other countries. You can find out what people are doing every day of their life, and it's so wonderful. It's going to actually bring people together. No matter where you're from, you're going to not feel as alone as you used to. And I thought, that sounds good. But what I began to notice, and what a lot of Generation Xers began to notice about social media, was that in the end, people may have had more friends to connect with, but they actually had less friends. People were actually feeling more alone than ever before, even with all of this interconnectivity all the way around the world. And along with that, of course, comes the idea that people aren't really learning how to make friendships in a face-to-face fashion. And that was something, obviously, that Generation Xers noticed as well. The second thing I noticed with social media began to be that a lot of times people had two very distinct, different personalities. That people had their social media personality, and then they had their face-to-face personality. And I could not wrap my head around this. It used to really freak me out.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
Even a few times, true story, I would find out that me and one of my friends, so let's just say, hypothetically Joe, me and my friend Joe would have a mutual friend named Steve. And I found out that I knew Steve face to face. I found out that Joe knew Steve from online. And my feeling of who Steve was would be totally different than Joe's. And my experience of Steve was that Steve was very insecure, didn't like to share his opinions, even borderlining, unfriendly, a little bit socially awkward. And I'd found out that Joe's idea of Steve is like, oh my gosh, he is so funny. We chat almost every day. We chat online. He's just so clever. And I started finding out that a lot of people were giving this idea on social media of who they were for Generation Xers. We were like, that's not really who these people are. And I don't know how they're not living in the real world. Without trying to be rude or judgmental, it started to seem like a lot of young people were not really interested in making friends. They were just interested in being clever.
It's very clever. Thank you. How's that working out for you?
So I want to get serious with you just for 1 second, because there's something that I found really distressing. In the last few years, you're seeing all these reports come out, and we're finding out that rates of depression are going up, rates of mental illness are going up, people are feeling more alone than they did 15 years ago, suicide rates are going up. There's a study that I read that was in the New York Times. It was actually printed in 2014, but it was a 15-year study that showed that suicide rates in that 15-year period from 1999 to 2014 have actually gone up 24% in America and amongst all demographics. Even in a demographic that used to be maybe one of the lower with girls, tend to be young men that commit suicide more than young women. But girls ages 10 to 14, suicide rates have tripled since 1999. So they've tripled since the start of this kind of social media movement. It was a movement that was meant to make us feel less alone, and I'm looking at it going, something is wrong. Full disclosure, I am not near smart enough to start giving you a whole bunch of facts and what it all means culturally. That's not really what I'm great about. And it's kind of a soapbox of mine. Everybody wants to be a genius and everybody wants to be a philosopher. So I'm not going to try to tread too deep in that water. But I wanted to share those facts because I think this is pointing to something really important that everybody watching probably can relate to. So let me start by saying this. I do not think that social media is evil. I do not think that we all need to stop using social media. I use social media every day. So this isn't judging you for what you do. I use social media for business. I use social media for keeping up with my family, my friends. I use social media just to find out things that I think are cool about comics and other awesome stuff like comics and Skillet, Cooper stuff. You know it. So not only do I use social media, I actually think social media can be a good thing, but I want to share some ground rules with you that might help you out. So here are Cooper Stuff rules for keeping it real on social media. Ground rule number 1, everybody's perfect life is not real. We look on social media and we see all the beautiful people with all their beautiful lives and their beautiful bodies and their beautiful beards. You know what I'm saying? I know you do. And it's completely not real. It's all fake. It's all a sham. This beard isn't even real. I put this on every morning before. I'm just kidding. JK, it's real. But it might not all be black. I'm meeting 20 and 21 and 22-year-old people in the music business and in the entertainment world that are getting fillers and Botox and plastic surgery. They're doing things to their bodies at 21. Imagine what they're going to be like at 40 when you realize that you are literally about to die. Show business will absolutely suck the life out of you. It wants to destroy you. I think that social media is a contributing factor because it's making everybody think that they have to live their normal lives as if they're on the cover of magazines. And you know what? I got a secret. It's impossible. These people on these magazine covers, even at age 15, 16, they're beginning to have plastic surgery. They're doing all these things to themselves. They have fitness coaches. They're spending thousands and thousands of dollars on trainers and people that tell them what to eat, when they can eat, personal chefs. I was on tour with a band one time. I'm not lying. I was on tour with a band one time, and they had their own person that would tell them when they could eat, because they couldn't eat without this guy telling them, well, what am I supposed to eat now? I've never seen anything like it. I was wondering if they were going to change their diapers too. You know what I'm saying? But seriously, I'll probably need diapers soon. And after all of these people, they're spending money telling them what to eat, when to eat it, fixing their hair, fixing their makeup, plastic surgery, Botox, all at 20 before you even have wrinkles. Even after all of that, you take a photograph and then they spend thousands of dollars on someone to come in there and touch up the photos and touch up all the imperfections, because no one in this whole world is without imperfections on their bodies. And after all of the saying, they put it up on social media and everybody goes in there to look, and we all go, oh my gosh, they are so beautiful, but it is not real. I've met tons of famous people that are beautiful in real life. They're just not as beautiful as their Instagram pages. Nobody is that beautiful except like Jeremy Camp. I call Jeremy Camp the American dream because he's American and dreamy. Let me give you an example. This is a picture of what I actually look like in the morning.
Take it back to the friend zone.
JK, that's not really me. This is the real me. Or take this for an example. This is a picture that I post on Instagram after working out so the whole world knows that I'm getting ripped, son. But this is actually what a John Cooper workout looks like. Gosh, how many? How many are we doing of these things? I am killing it today. Look, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you posting a picture of yourself looking good as you possibly can. I totally get it. I'm only trying to say, when you see all these pictures of all these beautiful people on your Instagram feed or Twitter feed or whatever, just to know the people on that feed, every one of those people is just as insecure as you are. So ground rule 1, everybody's perfect life is a lie. Ground rule number 2, you ready for it? Here it comes. FOMO is not real. For those of you who don't know what FOMO is, I feel proud because I found out recently. I feel like I'm in a cool club now. Fear of missing out, son. They call it FOMO apparently. It's like a whole thing. I've also seen it on Sonic commercials, you know, the ones with the hot dogs and the little, oh, I'm so hungry I could eat a hot dog right now, but then I wouldn't look good in my Instagram pic. Now, when I say FOMO is not real, I don't mean that it doesn't feel real. What I'm trying to say is you're not actually missing out on anything, because nobody's life is this amazing. We look at our phones or we look at our computers and we see all these beautiful people doing all of these amazing things, and it's not actually real. All the people doing all the awesome things on your feed have insecurity. They have fights with their wives or their husbands. They get bullied at school. They feel like they're ugly, whatever it is, but they don't want the whole world to see that, obviously. So they post only all the really great stuff that they're doing. So we all watch it and we go, oh my gosh, I wish I could go eat tacos. I wish I could have Dr. Pepper endlessly without gaining any weight. Now, this whole idea of FOMO was very hard for Generation Xers to understand because we didn't grow up with it. So I can't quite relate to that, to be honest with you. Nobody wants to post all of the really sucky things they go through on a daily basis on social media. So it makes sense that it's not like that. And the reason I'm saying there's a ground rule is because when you look on your social media page, which is totally fine to do, you just need to understand that everything you're looking is going to be the very best parts of someone's lives. It's going to be their achievements, the days they felt like they were looking good, or they felt like they were looking cool, or they were eating something they really liked. It wasn't that every minute of their days is this wonderful picture of awesomeness, because nobody's like that. It's a complete lie. Your lives are just like everybody else's. They're going to be sometimes good, sometimes bad, and you want to share the great things that happen in your life with other people. In fact, think of it like this. Actually, what a weird, terrible world it would be if everyone actually did just post everything that happens in their lives and everything they think all of the time. Like, how about this tweet? Trying to watch football, but my nagging kids want me to be with them. Hashtag wish I wasn't a dad. Hashtag just keeping it real. Please follow. Or here's a good tweet for you. My wife is manipulating me and thinks she can have anything she wants just because she's hot. Hashtag sure, honey. Or here's a great one. Woke up with raging diarrhea today. Hashtag Hershey squirts. So what am I saying? Social media is awesome to follow stuff you think is cool, like, I don't know, Skillet, son! You know you can't get enough of that Skillet. Skillet in the hizzy. Do people say hizzy anymore? It's also a great way to celebrate all the great stuff in your life. And we all have great things we should be celebrating. Don't focus on all the negative stuff. Post the really great stuff. Don't post stuff that you want to forget. And remember, all of the beautiful people that you're looking, they all have bad breath in the morning. They all get gas. And I don't mean gas in their vehicles. I mean they fart a lot. They all have bad attitudes sometimes. They all are mean to their friends sometimes. They all have things they have to apologize for. They all have things about their appearance that they just wish were different. Now, I know some people watching might say, I doubt that these beautiful people are actually insecure. We might need proof of this. I want to say something that is very serious and such a bummer. And I want to say it delicately because I don't want anybody to think I'm being rude. I'm being honest here. If you need proof that these people are insecure and lonely and having a hard time, listen, not a year goes by these days that some of our heroes are committing suicide or they're accidentally killing themselves from drug addiction or painkillers, whatever it may be. These are beautiful people, rich people, amazing people, Grammy Award-winning people. Some of my favorites, Michael Jackson, Prince is probably my favorite musician of all time. Chester Bennington. There's so many people that are dying. They are funny. They are talented. A lot of these people are taking their own lives for whatever their reasons may be. But it is proof that we see all these beautiful people and the sheen and the prestige of Hollywood, and all of it is a complete lie. Even these heroes of ours sometimes wish that they were someone else, and they sometimes wish they looked like someone else. So I want you to know that if you feel ugly, if you feel useless, if you have things you want to change, if you feel like an outcast, then guess what? You are not alone. You are just like everybody else. We are all afraid to show the real us. And maybe that's okay. Maybe we shouldn't be sharing the complete real us. Because guess what? We all do a bunch of terrible things. And the older you get and the more you get to know what's actually in your heart, you actually find out that you are a worse person than you originally thought you were, unfortunately. Because you have kids or you get married, and you even sometimes when you do the right things, you know that you're doing it with a bad attitude in your heart, and then you feel even guiltier, and you desperately do not want everybody to know how messy and how ugly you can be on the inside. So this is all coming to this. This is my point. There is no possible way to keep it real on social media. It just can't be done. And if you did prove it wrong and actually did it, no one would want to follow you because they would see the darkness in your heart and they think you're just rude and you're mean and you're gross. Because we're all mean and gross and disgusting. There is no way to keep it real on social media. You have to keep it real with your friends, with your loved ones. You have to keep it real face to face in real life. You are not in the Matrix. You are in real life. And that is where you can keep it real. And how do you keep it real face to face? It's intimacy. There are only going to be some people in your lives that you are comfortable saying, hey, I want to let you all the way in to see who I really am. The truth is, there are things about me that I don't even want my wife to know. I don't even want my kids to know. I don't like those parts about me and my selfishness. I can be a really selfish dad sometimes when I just want to eat my food. I don't want to have to feed the kids. I don't want to have to deal with what they need to do. They need to be taken somewhere, and I really don't want to. Just being honest, it's very selfish, and I know it's ugly, so I don't let them know how selfish I am. I go, yeah, I'll do that. But in my heart, I'm like, this is so annoying right now. I don't want to do it. I don't want people to know that. So you have to have friends, family, and loved ones that you say, I'm going to let you into my life and know this, that I am desperate to be loved, and I am desperately horrified at the ugly stuff inside of me, but I'm going to trust that you're going to love me even when you see it. So the next time you want to scroll through your Instagram feed or your Twitter feed or whatever you're looking on social media, the next time you do it, I want you to remember this. Before you start looking at all of the beautiful people with their perfect lives and their beautiful bodies and all the things that you might think you're missing out on, I want you to remember this, that these people are just as insecure as you are. They are sometimes happy. They are sometimes sad. They are sometimes insecure. They are sometimes powerful. But deep down, they are just as ugly and just as beautiful as you are, and they just are desperate to be loved. And lastly, I want to take this one step deeper, peel it back one level deeper, because people are asking me all the time, why do you talk about Jesus? Why is Jesus so cool to you? The Bible teaches us that God is the only person who really knows everything about you. You can't run away from God. He knows what you do. He knows everything you think. He knows the intent behind the things you do. Like when I say my kids don't know that I have a really bad attitude, that I have to do something with them. God knows. You can't run from it. He knows all of the absolute selfish, dark things that you've ever done or thought and why you did them. Nobody knows it but Him. And even in spite of that, He still chooses to love us. And there's a famous saying that people know, have you found Jesus? In fact, it was a really funny clip in the movie Forrest Gump, if you've seen it, in which Lieutenant Dan asks Forrest Gump, it says, Forrest, have you found Jesus? And Forrest Gump says, well, I didn't know I was supposed to be looking for Him. And it's really funny, but it's a thing that people say. The reason that we say, have you found Jesus, is because God has already found you. He knows you on the inside and the out. And the reason that I always say that Jesus is so cool is because that God that knows all of that darkness in my heart and all those things that I'm horrified for the world to find out, and as I get older, I found out I'm even worse than I used to think that I was, all of those things that Jesus actually knows, but still died for me. And some people say, I don't really understand what this Jesus dying on a cross thing. The reason is because I needed to be forgiven. And so all those bad things that I did and all of that sin was placed on Jesus. And so now I'm no longer an enemy of God. I get to be a friend of God. And that is the ultimate display of what intimacy is. God knows everything about me, every crook and every cranny, and He still decided to love me. And that's why I think that Jesus is so cool. It doesn't get more real than that.
How do you know that?
How do I know that? It's from the Bible. Romans 5:8 says this, but God demonstrates His own love for us in this, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us.
Ha! Hallelujah! Woo!
Thanks so much for watching Cooper Stuff. I hope you had a great time. I hope from now on when you look at social media, you will feel better about your life and not worse. Leave a comment below. Follow us. Tell your friends about Cooper Stuff. Peace and rock on. Yeah.
Cooper Stuff!
John, would you quick call me that? It makes me feel very uncomfortable.